What's up, guys? Today I'm going to be doing a video about the legend of the Black-Eyed Children, and if you guys have not been following me, then you will not have known that I tried to shoot this video a few nights ago and I had some really spooky experiences. I'm sitting on my couch and the tripod is like 3 feet away from me at least, if not 4 feet away. It completely turns sideways and focuses on my shelf. The legend of the Black-Eyed Children has been around since the 1990s, and a lot of people think that it kind of came to be through internet forums where people were sharing their stories, and it kind of just spread from there. In fact, at one point, regular newspapers and TV programs were picking up on the stories about Black-Eyed Children. Now, the Black-Eyed Children are supposedly just like any other child out there. They're probably between 5 and 9, kind of in that age where you feel very compelled to help them, and they have completely blacked out eyeballs. Now, besides the eyeballs, they also have very pale and very perfect skin. You know, you're not going to see freckles, you're not going to see moles, just very perfect skin. And they also typically have their heads down or a hoodie on to kind of cover their eyeballs. Now, according to all of the different reports out there, Black-Eyed Children typically do travel in like pairs of 2, although sometimes you will have just one that travels by themselves, and they'll go up to either your house or like your car, knock on the door or tap on the window and try to get you to open the door. Now, if you do approach the children, if you open your door, if you roll down the window of your car, you're gonna probably start to feel kind of uneasy and like something's not right. But your brain's probably going to be telling you, hey, they're just kids, just hear them out. So a lot of people will listen to them. And what the kids often want is they want in your house. Now, they typically will tell you that they need something, they need a phone call, they need a ride, they need a place to wait for their parents, they're lost. They'll just tell you that they need something and they need in your house or in your vehicle. Now, because you feel uneasy about them and something off about them, you're probably not going to let them in right away. You're probably going to ask them more questions. And as you ask them more questions, they're just going to keep hounding you with kind of that same basic rhetoric. I need in your house, I need in your car, I need to call my mom, I need a phone, I need to wait here for my mom, I need a ride somewhere. People who cave to this and let the kids in their house and say, okay, come on in, they start to experience some really bad things. Now, most people, while they catch themselves opening their door or starting to roll down their window, they normally catch themselves and they don't actually let Black-Eyed Children into their homes or into their cars. But a woman back in January of this year, I believe, actually reported that she did let Black-Eyed Children into her home because she didn't notice that they had black eyes at first and it was snowing outside, and her husband have been plagued with illnesses ever since. In fact, her husband's now dying of a mysterious cancer that's super rare, and they totally attest this all to Black-Eyed Children. So I'm gonna go ahead and read you guys one of the more normal accounts of somebody who's encountered Black-Eyed Children, and this is from a Reddit forum, which is where a lot of stories are shared. I think there's an entire forum just devoted to people who have seen Black-Eyed Children. It almost felt like a dream. I woke up to my dog, Lucy, barking. She was upright on the bed where my husband and I were sleeping with our 22-month-old daughter. Staring at the door like an unknown stranger was out there rummaging around. I thought she was just freaking out over a house noise. We'd only had her for 3 months. She was still a puppy. It could have been anything. Our roommate, a creak from the house settling, the awnings moving outside in the breeze. I wasn't too concerned initially. I decided the best bet would be to open the door and show her nothing was there. It sounds a bit silly, but it's what we do with our daughter when she gets scared, and I figured it should work with a puppy too. So I opened the door and she raced to the front door. She stood there snarling at the door. It was an angry, violent growl, one I'd never heard her make before. I looked groggily at her and opened the baby gate, blocking the doorway, planning to open the door and show her everything was okay. The second my hand reached for the deadbolt, Lucy went wild. She started barking and jumped towards me, and when I touched the metal, she suddenly changed her temper. She whimpered, almost like she was afraid, and backed down. As her mannerisms changed, so did mine. I wasn't calm anymore. My heart was racing and sinking at the same time. I had been flooded with a mixture of fear and dread. I looked through the peephole, and I can't explain why I looked, but I did. Outside were 2 kids. One was just a smidge shorter than me, and didn't look much younger. I'm 21, and she looked to be around 16 or 17, slender and pale. Her hair was a light shade of honey blonde, and she wore it long, about mid-back, with long, thin, blunt bangs in the front that mostly covered her eyes. She wore jeans, a light wash that's popular right now, and a thin-looking olive-colored pullover-style hood. She held the hand of a small girl who looked to be around 3 or 4, in the same style jeans and a button-down ivory cardigan. The smaller one looked at the floor shyly, but had the same shade of hair, tied back in a ponytail. She held a stuffed toy under her free arm, and it was identical to the one my daughter has. as was the style of dress. Had it not been for the feeling of overwhelming dread and fear, I probably would have asked these children in and given them some tea or hot chocolate to get them out of the cold. Something about them seemed off, though. At this point, I hadn't made any noise. I hadn't shushed the dog or grumbled, nothing. I hadn't turned on any lights. These kids had no indicators I was at the door, but the older one spoke. She had a voice that was mature, confident, strong, and accentless. She held her head tilted downwards, and I couldn't see her eyes. She said, "We have to use your phone." I stood in fear. How did she know I was there? She raised her head to face me directly, and that was when I saw her eyes. There was a reason I couldn't see them through her bangs before. They were black, or midnight blue, or dark, dark purple. They were otherworldly. She said, "Our mother is worried." As someone who has always been interested in creepy stories, I knew what she was the second she looked at me through the door. I have never been one to believe in these things. As a staunch atheist and skeptic when it comes to the paranormal, I had written off many a good ghost story from friends and family members eager to tell their tales. I didn't believe them. Still, I couldn't rationalize my way out of this. I was standing with nothing but a thin wooden door between me and a black-eyed child. There was no questioning what was right in front of me. I did not answer her. Slowly and silently, I backed away from the door, Lucy still cowering at my ankles. She kept talking. "Just let us in to use your phone." I took another step back, and with that step, the tone changed. At first, she seemed polite. When I took that second step, she became commanding, hostile. "We're not going to hurt you. If we wanted to do that, we would have broken in. I'll ask again. May we come in and use your phone?" Lucy snarled at the door, and I inched backward, though something inside me seemed to be slowly pulling me back towards the door. It wasn't a physical pulling so much as a subconscious need to go back and let them in. I got to my room, covered up the window, locked the door, and sat there in the dim light of the night. I heard her call me back to the door once more, and then quiet. I didn't go back to sleep that night. I know from reading about them that BEKs can't just come in without permission. I know they haven't hurt anyone, but I still fear I'll be the exception. When I told my husband, he said it was just a dream. He keeps telling me to forget it, but this lingering feeling of dread and sadness when the house is silent at night, the fear of a knock on the door, tells me otherwise. So that's like a really typical general experience with black-eyed children. Now, people don't really know what black-eyed children are. Some people say that they're aliens, and this kind of comes from this theory that there are these men with black eyes that come to people when they've had a UFO sightings to try and intimidate them and shut them up. And so people are like, oh, it's their children. Other people think that they're reptile people. Other people think there's all sorts of theories out there. I personally think that they probably fall under the realm of demons. And here's why. First of all, they typically ask to be let in your house or be let in your car, but they can't seem to come in unless you give them permission. You have to be like, okay, come in. Like, even if you're opening the door and you have it open a ways and they start to look like they want to come in, they can't come in unless you actually invite them into your house. And that can be with a gesture, but more often they're waiting for you to be like, yeah, come in and have hot chocolate. You know what I mean? So you have to invite them into your house or let them in or let them into your car. They can't just come in on their own. Now, that's a very common thing with demons as well. Typically in houses that are haunted, it's because somebody in the past has let in a demon. Now, I did some research on this a while ago, and it's kind of believed by a lot of different Christians, Catholics, other denominations as well, that you have to invite demons into your house. So to get rid of them, the owner of the house has to kind of tell them that they're not allowed to be there anymore, that they have to leave, that this is like a place of God. There's also a whole method of like blessing doors and windows and different entry and exit points of your house, and also going around and blessing the perimeter of your property and telling them that they're not allowed on your property and they have to leave. And so in order for them to come back on, they have to be invited back on. That to me is kind of an indicator that black-eyed children are probably demonic spirits of some sort that are trying to make entry into your house. Now, why would a demonic spirit want into your house and then just leave? Well, perhaps after the demonic spirit has been let in through these children, the children are a means of getting let into the house, and then once they're in the house, they're able to kind of curse you and your family. Some other evidence for black-eyed children being demons is the fact that their eyes are black. There are also beings out there that have been cited called white-eyed children, and the white-eyed children supposedly are more ferocious. They're able to do more, to physically attack and injure things. Now, the good thing about white-eyed children is they're not seen very frequently. According to some people who study demons, black-eyed demons are the demons at the very bottom of the food chain. They're the servant demons. They're the demons that have the least amount of power, while white-eyed demons are the demons that have the most power. They have the most strength. They're able to do the most things. So wouldn't it make sense that black-eyed demons, black-eyed children, would be sent around to houses to try to create entry points for these demons to reside in, whereas like the white-eyed children wouldn't be seen that often? often, but maybe they're attacking people that, you know, they aggressively want to get entrance into, but they know that they're like more resistant to the black-eyed children. I don't know. It just makes sense to me that they could potentially be demons. That makes a lot of good sense. And like, obviously, if you guys don't believe in that kind of stuff, you don't have to believe in it, but I definitely believe in like powers of good and evil, like angels and demons. So to me, it makes a lot of sense that that's what they could be. Now, I'd never really thought that I'd had experiences with black-eyed children, but as I was kind of reading some of the reports, this one story does come to mind where I was riding my bike through the woods. It was about dusk time, so like I could still see. I did have this little tiny light on my bike as well, but like I knew I needed to get home because it was gonna be dark anytime. And there was this path through the woods that went from my mom's house to my friend's house, and I was riding on this path, and it was very bumpy and like curvy, and I was going really fast because I was trying to get home before it was completely 100% dark. And as I was going, all of a sudden I see this little kid step in front of my bike, and he was probably like a 6-year-old boy. I slammed on all the brakes on my bike to try to like not hit this kid, and I slammed them on so hard that my bike flipped up and I ended up flying off of it like over the handlebars, and I landed on my back. So that happened, and then as I got up and turned around, this kid is standing behind me. He turned around, his face was looking at the ground, and as he looked up, I could swear he didn't have eyeballs. Can I help you? Like, what's going on? You know, I was just asking, like, I was like 9 years old. I'm like, hey kid, like, what's up? And he didn't really respond to me. He was just staring me down. So I like skirted him, grabbed my bike, and I left. I don't really think he was a black-eyed child. I think he'd been sent out there by one of the neighbor boys to like creep me out. But what do I know? Maybe he was a black-eyed child. So there you guys have it. That is the legend of the black-eyed children, and it is my personal theory as to what they actually are. And if you guys like this video, please let me know by liking it down below so that I know to make more like urban legend type videos. You can also subscribe. I'm putting out a new video every day during October for Vlogoween, and they are all creepy or scary related, which honestly, it's getting a little scary to film this many scary videos in a row, but we're doing it. And I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye!